Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, Indiana in the house, Tennessee. I love it. These lunch and learns have quickly become one of my absolute favorite ones. And reason is really simple. I get to share something that I absolutely love, which is typically talking about either direct mail, geographic farming, or just straight up real estate. And today's topic is the pre-listing package that wins sellers in 2025. Florida, Arkansas, Minnesota. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. So let's see. We're only at 5 out of 50, so we'll see how many more states we can get. And Florida, wonderful. These are fun. So if you've never attended a lunch and learn, it is all about giving you really quick information that you can use and implement. And I love lunch and learns. I think they are great for us agents to just, get a little bit of a quick pick me up in. And I do typically have slides, and I do today. So I'm going to find those, make sure that you can see them, and then I'm going to go ahead and make myself probably look a little smaller just so you guys can see everything. Port Orchard, Louisiana, Minnesota, Staten Island, New York. All right. Well, we're going to have to hurry up. Rumors got it, the New Yorkers are not very patient. Just kidding. All right. I want to go ahead and get these slides up here. So while you guys just say hi in the chat, let me know your state. You see, we're getting there. All 50 is my goal one of these days. So we'll see if I can ever make it. And today's topic is the pre-listing package that wins sellers in 2025. Now, before I go ahead and start, I do currently have a very, very big mission, which is to build up our reviews. So after class, I would love for you to head over to Google and leave an honest review. Super simple to do. You can just text the word review to 844-950-3580. I will drop it into the comments as well. And we also, if you're on a laptop and you have your phone, go ahead and scan that QR code. We're actually playing around right now with some fun QR code stuff. Like if you scan this QR code, it will literally open up your text message on your phone with the word review already in it to the number it needs to go to. So all you got to do is hit send. Yes. How fun is that, right? I know we should probably do some, how do you do this and what's going on? So if you are not on your phone, lucky you, it is a much better experience, by the way, on the desktop. But again, if you're on your phone, it's okay. Just text that word over there. It'll give you a text back. So after class, you can then let me know, was this helpful? Because I want to make sure it's helpful. If it wasn't, I want to make it better. And if it was helpful, then I know I'm on the right path. And because I do think everybody deserves some motivation, every single honest review is getting a business builder box sent as a thank you for giving me feedback. So I am going to bribe you a little bit to text the word review in, let me know after class how it was. Okay, so for those of you that are wondering, what are these classes about? It's your first time here, welcome. But you can just go ahead then and review us, honest review, and we will send out a physical box to your home. Okay, there's so many that already took the time, told us what they thought about the classes. So again, if that is you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are at like a ton of reviews, letting us know the classes were helpful and all of that. Okay, so there's that. All right, that out of the way. Pre-listing packages that win seller leads in 2025 is the topic for today. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what we're covering today. Anybody has seen my boxes before, feel free to let me know in the comments, yes or no. I'm going to play this video again. It's just kind of like a little short, ta-da, this is what is inside the box. And I want to go through that with you, okay? Because so many people are like, what's in the box? What do you do? And I kind of share it all. So why don't we do that? And let me share this all with you guys. And then you can decide what's going in your box. What are you going to do? Right? I'm a big, big believer in the more I share, the bigger my business is going to grow, because you see all the states on here, right? By the way, nobody in Illinois, right? What? Okay, by the way, I'm in Illinois. Yes, send me all the referrals. So you see how sharing is just so good for my business, and that's why I continue to do it. So we're going to go over all of this here inside. And if you are brand new, I saw somebody said they just joined us inside Geossential. Nicole, you have the exact step-by-step and everything inside Geossential. So I'll talk a little bit about that later. But for now, just enjoy and see everything that's coming your way. Now, for those of you that love a good workbook, we do have a workbook at thehyperlocalagent.com/workbook. So let me type that in. Oh, there's Jordan. Jordan said she's going to join us one of these days inside the Geossential, whenever she's ready. Let's see, thehyperlocalagent.com/workbook. Yes, no peer pressure, Jordan. All right, this one is no opt-in required. It just is a straight up download from a Google Drive. So if you like the workbook, by all means, feel free to grab it. And then I want to go ahead back on the slide. I'm kind of toggling today. And I typically kick these classes off with just being straight up honest with you. What is your goal at every single listing appointment? Yes, that's the interactive part, right? What is your goal at every single listing appointment? It is all about the next step, right? All about the next step. I'm gonna here put the workbook link in just so you guys can see it. What's the next step at the listing appointment? win the listing, get the listing signed, right? So I'm going to be very honest with you here, and I'm going to tell you my goal for every single Lunch and Learn is to get you into action, right? Like, I'm not a coach, I am a motivator. I'm like, let's get you moving. It's kind of like a freight train that just keeps chugging slowly, right? And then all of a sudden you're picking up steam and you're like unstoppable. I should have like a freight train song playing in the background. But there's really just three things that I have people do from here. So when it comes to the class pass after class, either you're going to be falling in the bucket of a lifetime learner. I'm an education junkie. I love to learn. I love to know things. I want to know how is this working? How is this all, functioning together? Like, this is me. I'm a lifetime learner. And for those of you, we do have our class pass happening pretty soon. I don't think it's ready yet, but we're working on it. If you're a reader, right, that's also me, actually. I love reading books. I think it's the best way to pick somebody's brain is if you're actually looking at a book that was published, if that person has a book. Not only do I have one, I have two, and I'm currently writing my third, all on the topic of postcard mailers. And then there is the third action that you can take, which is join us inside the next boot camp. We just wrapped up bootcamp week, so you see a lot of new people saying like, I'm new to GeoCentral and I'm new to the Hyperlocal Agent, right? We just wrapped bootcamp week up. The next one is in November. So all of these here are possible. The Lifetime Learner one, we're currently still working on putting the class pass together. So if the button down below still says coming soon, we're not quite there yet, but it'll host the replays of all the classes that we do here. So you can just binge watch it, almost kind of like a, Netflix marathon, if you will, but pure educational content for geographic farming and direct mail. So that is that class pass I talked about. The bookworm, okay, that is the Success with Real Estate mailer book. So if you are saying postcards are my thing, we're going to talk about the pre-listing package when you get seller leads. You got to get seller leads first and foremost in order to deliver a pre-listing package, right? So the precursor of how do I get seller leads for me is postcards. And that is what this one is all about. And then if you're saying, you know what, I've read the books, I've taken the classes, I'm just ready to get into action. There is a lot of you guys actually from the past boot camp on here. So for those of you that just came through the boot camp, again, thank you for going through it. It was over 12 hours of content. That was a lot, but that's what the bootcamp is all about, right? The next one is already open for sign up. It's mailerbootcamp.com. It's not until November, so there's a little bit of time, and it'll be the last one for 2024. So if you haven't met me yet, hi, I'm Janine. I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, a real estate agent, an introvert, and a licensed real estate instructor in the state of Illinois, over at the Hyperlocal Agent as well. So my superpower became really finding leads in the most cost-efficient way and making sure my database was being fed without paying high crazy fees that most companies charge. Now, do you know how many agents are out there? Just a guesstimate. By chance, roughly, ballpark, how many agents do we have currently licensed? You have, if you have a number in your head, right now about 1,500, 1,600 NAR memberships, and that is not every single licensee, right? Because you do not have to be a member of NAR in order for you to hold a license. So the rough guesstimate that we are assuming is about 3 million, okay? That's a lot of people. 3 million people, holy moly. Now you're thinking, okay, my job is to stand out between 3 million licensed agents? Craziness. Yes, we're going to do that. So today's agenda, and if you don't have a notepad yet, you may want to grab one. I do talk fast, and I will try to talk slower, but I want to have you out of here in like less than an hour at this point. So these typically do not ever run longer than an hour because you have places to be, and so do I. So let's make sure we're going to dive right in. We're going to talk about the immediate differentiator that will leave your competition in the dust, okay? That's the first and foremost thing we need to cover, because at the end of the day, you don't want to compete in a sea of we're all the samesies, right? I'm going to give you the 14-point checklist for the winning package every time the seller reaches out to you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then from plan to execution, how do you make it actually happen? The nitty gritty. Pretty simple, right? Pretty straightforward. And this here is me pre-packaging the boxes because after I send a postcard, what typically happens is that I have an influx in seller leads. I sent a postcard about 10 days ago. It hit last week. I think right now there are 6 or 7 sellers I have to follow up with. And this is what we're going to do here that you see. Okay. So that is what we're going to cover. Now, I'm a fact person too, and it's all about the consumer, right? We want it to be all about us. I get that, but really it isn't, right? It's all about the consumer. So here are the 4 benefits of receiving physical mail as the consumer sees it. First up, having a physical copy of information. People like that, okay? I should probably totally plug here that you know that you can get a physical copy of my class schedule. Like I have my class schedule hanging on my fridge because I think it's just so much better having a physical copy. And guess what? It comes on a postcard. So for those of you saying, oh my gosh, I think I need that, I'm going to drop that in the chat. It's the hyperlocalagent.com/schedule. If you have never ever ordered yourself one, you can definitely go ahead and get that one. And we will send out the updated one for 2025 in the next couple of months actually as well. All right, let me take out that here. There you go. There's that. Okay. Now, this is the first thing. Next up, I can save a hard copy and refer back to it later. Well, that's kind of just what I said about the class schedule too, right? Consumers like to have a hard copy that they can reference back later. How many of you are still giving hard copies of certain things? That is one of the absolute biggest reasons I love direct mail. Number 3, I don't have to be on my phone or computer to read it. We're all getting a little worn out on the social media. I mean, let's be honest, I love when I can just put my phone away and not use it. I'll give you a little story. I had one of these like super intense, focused on the screen all the time kind of days. And I was tapped. I could feel like, nothing was happening anymore. My brain was kind of like overloaded. I'm like, I'm done. There was, the TV blaring from my kids working or watching something. My husband came home from work. And the first thing I did was I put my phone on the charger and I said, I'm going to go for a walk. And I just needed to completely like unplug, move away, and just be left alone with no physical or with no digital device. Anybody ever experienced something like that? Maybe I just totally hang out too much in front of the screen, but it was a really big, like I needed to unplug moment that just recently happened. And I think it's really, really important. And I see that happening more and more and more with people now that they're like unplug, right? So here's that. And then it's easier to remember than email. Actually, there's a whole thing going on with the retention when it comes to having a physical piece of paper. So how they're switching, college and schools to these iPads instead of like a notepad and a pen and paper. I don't know, but it is proven that you actually remember more when you have physical contact with the source. So I thought that was interesting enough for me to share that with you. So we're going to talk about the pre-listing package for home sellers. And yes, this is actually a copy of mine. And as you can see here on the cover, there's a couple things on there that I am going to go over in a very detailed manner. So you can make notes, and I want you to really start outlining your own pre-listing package, or maybe make some tweaks to the one you already have. And some of you may wonder, well, why am I actually doing all of this? Because you want to leave an impression before you ever get to the door, okay? You want to be remembered. This is all about getting the sellers to say yes to you before you are ever speaking with them in person. So first up, I do have a huge headline. There's no doubt, you all know what's inside of this package, right? It's a pre-listing package. And sellers are like, oh yeah, because we're about to list, we need a pre-listing package, right? Now, that is the first thing there. Make it clear what this is that you're giving them. I do at the next one have an image on there as an icebreaker. And this is just a little comic strip that says, ooh, this realtor sold the house made out of straw for more than the house made out of bricks. That's the agent we should use. Okay. Now, when you have a little bit of humor, when people smile, people remember, right? You're like, yeah, that's the agent we should use, right? So I use that as my icebreaker. And then I do have my picture on there. Again, that goes back to brand recognition. Okay. Making sure that people associate me with this package. Why is this important? It's important because we as people are trained from birth to seek out facial features. Okay. Facial features are so important. And as much as I sometimes hate having my face on all these marketing things, it's an important component on a psychological level. Make sense? And then there's obviously other things such as my brokerage, my license number, right? All of that good stuff that is going on the cover just so they know it's legitimate. Now let's dive in a little bit more. If you decided to spend an afternoon creating it, it can literally serve you for the rest of your career. I had created mine and I still use it to this day. It was the best, hour or two I spent pulling together resources, getting it done, right? Because what's the alternative? You watch an afternoon of Netflix and it will not have an impact on you or your business at all. Okay? So you really want to think, where do I spend my time? What can serve me? And this here was a good investment of my time to make sure I have something in place that now has served my business, I want to say for a minimum of 7-ish years. Yes. And I've handed out hundreds of them. And of course, hands-on implementation session. That's what we're going to go and do next. There's 14 points in that pre-listing package, and we're going to dive into all of these. One more thing before I do, and that's where I typically want to just point out to you that I do have anything templated that I ever create and use inside my own business, inside GeoCentral, right? So my pre-listing package is obviously also in there. My listing presentation is actually also in there. And when you have templates and you get access to all that, it's just a whole lot faster. Of course, you can go through it on your own. But for GeoCentral, my personal favorites are obviously the free unlimited printed postcard, the email drip campaigns that are in there, the reputation manager, the social media scheduler, the website and funnel and landing building tool, the text messaging. Yes, there's just so much in there. Again, all of what I use and do comes out of this one system. So I just like to take that out because I always get asked, what do you use, right? That's what I use. So let's talk about the implementation of the 14-point pre-listing package. I want you to discover that perfect sequence for your pre-listing package to close seller leads. And if you have GeoCentral on the back end, you can literally just steal mine, put your stuff on there, make it yours, and then utilize it. So first up, it all starts at the cover, right? I've already showed you that one. The cover is all about setting the stage. And we went over headline. What is it? I like the image for the icebreaker, just so it doesn't look like a boring piece of, a brochure. And then making sure your image is on there. When you have these things on there, check, right? Good to go. Next page. And obviously you can design these in Canva super easily. Now, here's a chapter overview, and I'm going to go and dive into each one of these chapters so you can really figure out, okay, what do I want to put in mine? If you want to take a screenshot of this one right here, great time to do that right now. Take a screenshot, like, okay, now I got it. But we're going to cover all of this. Let's bring on the sales, be professional, the 3P letter approach, credibility, selling process, thoughts on condition, getting market ready, being real, that's a big one. Got nothing to do with the brokerage. Time and money, questions for your agents, and then the resume, and of course, a closing statement. All right, everybody ready to dive deeper into this? Yes? All right. So let's bring on the sales. And for the sales, this one is an interesting one because some of you may say, I'm new, I don't have any sales in the area. Well, maybe your brokerage does. Okay. So when you look at what reputation can I borrow if you have none of your own, ask your manager, right? If you are the manager and you are the small business owner yourself, obviously you're going to have a different one. You can just list the sales of like, hey, 20 houses sold this year, right? But bring the sales. And being as hyper local as possible is obviously also a good idea because they will recognize the street names. They may even know the people that have lived there. So it's a great way for you to just bring that hyper locality in. And then try to remain with recent data. So the way I solved this is because I didn't want to have it as part of my listing package. I just have a separate piece of paper that can then outline, hey, here's all the things that have sold that I was participating in, because it instantly increases my authority in their mind. Why is that important? Well, I am now officially an agent in my 30s. However, I got started being in my 20s. And when you are in your 20s, and that might be in my head and that might be not in my head, but I think a lot of people thought, oh, she's pretty young. What does she know? And I'm like, a lot, obviously. But you have to really think sometimes through what is the perception people have. And when I look at agents that aren't getting licensed, right, and they're in their, let's say 60s or 70s, because they've had, they had a job, they retired from the job, and they decided, I can't stay at home, I got to do something else. Now you have a 60 or 70-year-old agent that's brand new, but in the seller's eyes, that agent is experienced because she's on the more mature age level. I'm going to try to be really nice about. Not saying old. I'm not saying old. You are never too old. But it's one of those things that I feel like I had to overcome personally. And for me, it was a great way to do that because people will still judge a book by its cover. And I knew I needed to combat that somehow on my level. Does that make sense, everybody? Let me know in the comments. I do love interaction. It just helps me make this so much more fun. All right, so that is the first thing. Now, next up, it's all about being professional. And when we're handling hundreds of thousands worth of real estate, dollars, well, it's kind of important to make sure you do have something like a privacy statement. Your brokerage will probably have something that you can put on there, some sort of disclaimer, right? That makes them feel pretty good about what they are looking at. Because let's be honest, every business that's legitimate is actually having some sort of privacy statement. Now remember, you are a business, right? So let's make them feel reassured that they are in good professional hands, right? This is a well-run business. Yes, the privacy statement should definitely go both ways, right? There's actually forms that we have that we can use when we do sit down with our sellers. And again, that's a whole different conversation, but just something to consider. Now, the 3P letter approach, that part is next. I do have a little welcome letter inside that pre-listing package. Now, why would I do that? Because I do think it's just a polite way to say hello, right? When I send out packages, member welcomes, I always include a letter because I want to make sure it is personal. I do write all my letters, not ChatGPT. That's a big one, right? It is all about appearing professional. So get your punctuation cleaned up, get your language cleaned up, right? Get your grammar cleaned up. I am not a native English speaker, so I definitely had my fair share of like, whoops, I can't believe I put that there, right? But when you have tools in place, such as ChatGPT, you can just take your letter, plug it in there, and say, hey, make sure that there's no grammar mistakes, no misspelling, and it is a clean and concise letter. If you have ideas to make this letter better, please let me know, right? Easy prompt. Now, For those of you that are saying like, okay, I don't have a letter, Geocentral has the one, so please have a look at that for the pre-listing one. It's all in there. Next one, credibility. Provide reviews, include stars, and include names. Now, let's break this one down. When you have, I want to put that in there for the workbook again. When you have people going through, right? Think about Amazon. How do you make decisions on Amazon? Well, oftentimes you look what you need and then you do what? You look for the stars, right? You look for the stars. Did other people like it? This is such an important way that I'm going to ask you, how was class? Why? Because when people decide, do I really want to spend an hour with a lady that I've never met? These stars become so important. Okay? So you really got to figure out, how do I get reviews, right? How do I get these stars? And you can just make sure you take a snippet of it and put it on your pre-listing package, right? All right, Michelle, you all good on the workbook? All right. Yep. Sorry, took the wrong one. All right. Include names. And I'm not talking full-blown names. I think there is some sort of, privacy in place. But for example, for my own name, I would just say Janine S. Okay. There's plenty of Janine S's out there that I think I will be okay to use it this way. But it sounds a whole lot better this way. Now, an alternative to names, if you have people that absolutely like, I don't want my name on anything, please don't do it, right? But if you have any of this happening, you could go to the next best thing, which would be home seller or home buyer in, and then the city they bought in or sold in, right? Because that will also still put this in, context for this person. Meaning like, oh yeah, like that's my area, or I know where that is, right? So it would make sense for the person. All right. Now, next up, the selling process. And for the pre-listing package, I know you guys are very familiar with the selling process, but they're oftentimes not. So let's make it simple. There are so many amazing flowcharts out there that can really look great, right? There are a lot of details. You guys know that there's a lot of details because we work in it every single day, right? Have you ever tried a Google search for flowchart to sell your home, right? Or infographic to sell your home? Like, get inspiration, take something, and then make it yours and run with it, right? When sellers see like, oh, okay, well, that actually is happening a lot sooner in the process than I thought it would, right? Like prepping your house for sale. I have people reach out to me sometimes 6 to 9 months in advance. Most sellers don't even comprehend that. They're like, well, I thought we just call you when we're ready. It's like, I mean, you could, but you guys know how much work we do before the house actually hits the market, right? Like that's the part that I think when sellers realize they can lean in and get help with that, they're like, wow, I don't have to do that on my own. This is awesome. So again, think about the selling process and really make it simple. I love these flowcharts. I love these like graphics that just show you an easy, like no more than 9-step process to really help with that in an ideal way. Now, when you make it bigger, okay, the nice thing is it looks overwhelming to them and they may realize I really need to call that agent because she can help me. So test out both and see what works better for your clientele. Okay. All right, moving on. Thoughts on condition. And that's a big one because what used to work way back when, right? Like, oh, the house needed some work and, here, this wasn't perfect and maybe a fresh coat of paint, no big deal. Well, guess what? It's a big deal today. You guys know it. And it's not just our younger generation buyer that thinks it's a big deal. It's also our older generation buyer, which I actually just recently found out, which surprised the heck out of me. I thought, well, they started with a starter home. They have put in the work like once or twice before. they're not going to be opposed to doing it a third or fourth or fifth time. Well, boy, was I wrong. I've had 50, 60, 70-year-old people walk into my open house and say, you know what, we've been there, we've done that, we are done. We want to just move in and live our life. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think that through. So really think about how people are in today's world, right? And obviously, if you're just trying to throw it on the market because, anything will sell, I mean, you guys know that's not the case anymore, right? You guys know market conditions change all the time. And what they still have in their brain based on what happened to the neighbor, 2 years ago. Oh, remember our good friend John next door? He had 300 people lined up for that open house and he had 30 offers and he went $80,000 over asking. And I think we're going to have the same happen. It's our job to set expectations and also tell them what the consequences are if they're not following through, right? And then it also goes back to the listing that you want to be known for, right? And I know sometimes our sellers can be stubborn. I've had these. But it's one of those things that if I put my name and sign in front of a house, I also have certain expectations because I want to make sure after they leave the area, the neighbors say, you did a phenomenal job on this, right? So also keep that in mind. So when it comes to conditions, what do you want them to do, right? Always put it back on how can it help you the best. I think we should get a deep clean of the property so that you can actually free up some of your time. I know it'll take you quite some time to probably, get all those things done, and then having to clean on top of it, that's just, let me just make it a little easier. We'll get a deep clean done, no problem, right? And then this way you don't have to worry about it and the house is going to be ready to go. Position it in a way where they will say, oh, that sounds great. Something off our shoulders, right? Versus, are you saying my house is dirty? Okay, it's a fine line. So always keep that in mind when you are getting these things ready. The next chapter you want to talk about is obviously getting market ready. And that is all about a checklist, in my opinion. When people see, take the stuff from the fridge. If you have, too many chairs in every corner, make sure you downsize all of that. If you have, fake plants all on top of the cabinets, let's make sure you're going to take some of those down, right? Start packing. Because at the end of the day, what if we were to get an offer pretty quickly, right? What if we were to get an offer pretty quickly and you needed to pack up the rest of it because the terms were just so good? Let's get in the habit of doing things there. And then we've got being real. And that's about the fact that I think we need to educate our clients of what could go wrong and how we want them to act. And again, let's go back to Janine's story time. I just recently had an unauthorized access in one of my listings that actually showed the property 90 minutes early. And during that time frame, my sellers had a lot of personal belongings out that they felt violated in their privacy. And that's the part that I think we need to really do a good job on telling our clients. If your home is shown, you may encounter somebody left the door open. Notify me right away. The only way for me to step in is if I know about it. How many of you had an unlocked door at one of your listings? It happens a lot. How many of you got a notice from a seller that was out of town, there were showings, and then there was, the light's been on all the time? Happens also all the time. What about early or no shows? I'm like, the no shows really get me. The ones that are occupied homes, and then the seller does all of these things, gets the property ready, and then it's a no show with no cancellation, no notice, no nothing. And I'm like, these people just spend so much time getting the home ready for you, and you didn't even have the decency to cancel your appointment, right? Like, those are the things that I think we really have to be clear of. Here's what happens. Here's what I want to make sure that you're prepared to. And it's just all about setting expectations, what we want our sellers to do, because you can actually step in and make sure that we as a whole in an industry are doing better, right? Early drive-by myself, yep. Early people drive my sellers crazy. I had an agent spill an oil diffuser on a new vinyl floor and damage it. Why were they even touching the oil diffuser? I mean, it's just, there's things that we can control. And if we can't control the action, at least we can control the response. Your seller needs to know that if something is not right, I need you to let me know right away so I can step in, because that's what I'm here for, right? It is definitely something that we have to address. And it's also going to help the seller feel less sold. Because if you're just talking about the amazingness, right? It's like, oh, this is so good, and you're going to have so much fun, and going on the market and showing your house is awesome. I mean, that's not right, first of all, because that's not real, right? But at the same time, like, you're going to set expectations that are realistic. And this is what this is all about. Things can go wrong. And I'm not saying like paint the devil on the wall, right? I want you to really just take the most common ones, and you can actually find out what the most common ones are by simply asking your MLS, what are the most common violations that are being cited, right? And one of the ones is obviously no-shows, early entries, and then forgetting to secure the property. So if you have these three things, right? If there's more, I mean, feel free to list more, but don't make it out all to be doom and gloom, right? We still want them to list. But feel okay that they know if something isn't right, my agent will actually step in and step up, okay? All right, then time and money. Now, one of the things that I think all of us sometimes focus too much time on is the fact that we want to sell the house for the most amount of money possible. And that's not always in line with what the sellers want. Some sellers are just saying, you know what, money is great, but at the end of the day, time is more precious. So always figure out a way to not corner yourself in one or the other, because at the end of the day, what you think doesn't matter, right? It's all about what the seller has in mind. Now, they only have so much time and they only have so much money, right? So related to the seller's life, right? If you are like, you know what, if you have a job transfer and that job is just starting and you don't have a relocation package, assuming that, what is more important, that you make it there, or are you going to be okay with 2 mortgage payments, right? If your daughter is 9 months pregnant and you really need to sell this house because you're going to buy another one so you can get settled in and help her with delivery, what do you think is more important, time or money, right? If you are currently needing to pay off every single loan that you have because it's really important you squeeze every bit of equity out, what's more important, time and or money, right? So you see how the motivation can be different, and your job is to figure out which one is actually more important. Ideally, yes, we want to squeeze out the best possible price, but you need to let your sellers have a say of what is really important to them and structure things around what they need, right? You are there to solve problems. So you want to have a page on that part. Now, next up, questions for your agents. And obviously, I want you to set yourself up for success. Okay? Set yourself up for success. If you know that there's something that you do that most other agents will not do for the seller, put it in there. Okay? So one of the questions I saw was, are you paying for the deep clean? Well, if it sets me apart, well, how could you position that, right? Think about all these little things that you could do to make yourself stand out differently. What are you going to do to help me get the home ready for market? I'm going to set myself up for success, and I say, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we do have a deep cleaning package that all of our sellers absolutely love because it means that they don't have to do it anymore. Boom, set up for success, right? Don't skip over the hard questions. It's one of those things that I think if you don't put the hard questions on there, right? Questions for your agents, meaning, what is your commission? Is your commission negotiable, right? It's not about the hard questions. It's about answering these questions. And it also helps you to eliminate the competition, right? Now, in the same instance, we do have what goes along with it, the resume. So it is all about answering as many of the previous questions as possible. It does have that professional resume look, right? And of course, what makes you different? What's your unique value proposition? Why should somebody hire you over the other, what would we say, 3 million others, not in your state, but you get the point, right? What makes you the person that is just, it's a no-brainer to say yes to you and make it happen? Okay. All right. And then at the end, we want to have a closing statement. Give them the next step. Keep it short and to the point. And of course, use words to evoke action. That is your call to action, right? I can't wait to meet you at the home. Please go ahead and let me know a time that's convenient. Here's my scheduling link, right? If you're ready to sit down with me, all you got to do is text meeting to this number, and I can't wait to meet you. Making it simple. You can also give me a call, send me an email, right? All of these things are the next step. Now that they've gotten this, the next step from here on out is only one possible step. Get the listing appointment, right? This is a pre-listing package. The next step is what? Listing appointment. That's right. All right. Almost towards the end. How are we doing? Are we doing good? Everybody got a lot of notes? I hope. Yes? All right. Now, consumers are looking at mail longer. That's also an interesting market reach statistic I wanted to share with you. Pre-lockdown, and I like that it's pre-lockdown and post-lockdown, but the pre-lockdown times were at 13 minutes and 48 seconds during the weekday and 25 minutes and 12 seconds on the weekend. Okay, that was pre-lockdown. Now, after the lockdown was done, we were at 14 minutes and 24 seconds during the week and 32 minutes and 24 seconds during the weekend. What does that all mean? It means that people are looking at physical items longer. The technology fatigue, the screen fatigue, it is real. And you can really, really see in some of these studies why I love physical items, because it just helps people to divert their attention back to something that's tangible. Okay. So that is absolutely one of my favorite things to do, is to give them something that helps them to like screen detox. Now, what does my box look like? So when I started, this did not look like this, by the way. So I'm going to be just taking you a little bit through my journey with this picture right here. But what was first was my pre-listing package, right? And I've been just through all the single things with you. That's my pre-listing package. And I looked at my pre-listing package and I said, this is awesome. This is good. What else can I do? And for me, I use Cloud CMA. So I printed out a physical copy of their Cloud CMA that they requested, right? Remember, it's a pre-listing package. They have engaged with me. They are a seller lead and they wanted to know what was their home worth. So I print their Cloud CMA package. Now, when I have that, now I have two things, right? I got their pre-listing package and I got their Cloud CMA. What's my home worth report? Again, printed out, yes. So I had these two things and I thought, okay, now I'm going to put this one and this one together. All right, it looks like a lot of paper. What else can I do? And I happen to have calendar mailers left over. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and use a leftover calendar, because what else was I going to do with it next year other than recycle it? I was going to put that one in there. So I had now a pre-listing package, a printout of the what's my home worth, and a calendar inside the package. Now, I thought, okay, well, if they just get that one with no context, they're going to be like, what's that? So let me add a note card. So I hand wrote a note card that said, thank you so much for requesting your home value. I printed out the report and included it with this package. Please keep in mind that homes received updates and upgrades over the years that may not be considered in your home evaluation. If you have questions, I'm here to answer them. Here's my direct number. Okay, you can all rewatch that in the replay. So what I did was put that in the note, and that's that little rainbow thingy. This note has not changed to date, and it does a couple things, right? It helps me not put myself in a position of saying, I have like 3 additions on my house. I dug up my basement, and you sent me comms that are like $300,000 houses where my home is at least a 600, right? I will never paint myself in a corner with a statement like that. Because if there's updates and upgrades done that I wasn't aware of, well, Mr. Seller, you should obviously ask me to come over to your house and have a look at all the beautiful things you've done. Make sense, everybody? Yes? All right. Never ever corner yourself on a price. All right. Takeaway number 1 for today. If nothing else. Was this so far helpful? Yes? Okay. So that one here is the pre-listing box. And again, it expanded from there. I've written selling your home. I have written this one cover to cover personally. We do have some case studies in here that we put in there as well that are just printouts of little rack cards. And that's now a marketing box. We call them our shock and awe package because we want them to be like, oh, I got this? Wow, I can't believe it. So shock and awe. All right, now, would you guys like to pivot to my buyer version? Because, I know we talked listing, but I can skip over that, or we can kind of go through it. I know since a whole lot of changes happened, this might be relevant to some of you. But again, remember, if you're just working on your pre-listing package, then yes, okay, we're going to go over that one. Okay. So the next one is a YouTube video I put on there because I actually do have it on my YouTube channel. So for those of you wanting to find it, it is on my YouTube channel. And I want to go ahead and get this one loaded. Hopefully it's going to load. If not, I will give you the YouTube link. There you go. Okay. So I'll play this one and it'll just go through all the things that are inside the buyer box. And then you see how, there's a seller version, which I just went over. It was a pre-listing package. And then there's a buyer version. My buyer version also didn't start out where this one is now. So always keep that in mind. You got to start somewhere and build on from there. Today, I got something super fun for you, which is our buyer box. We've been working with this buyer box for the longest time at this point, and our clients love it. Obviously, August 2024, there's a whole lot of changes, and we're going to go through what is in this buyer box, and hopefully it will inspire you to create your little box yourself. Again, this one here is handy dandy, and it was a whole lot of fun to put together. Now, cost-wise, I will look for the cost breakdown, but these boxes are less than $10 with all the contents on our end. So let me open it up. And what you see in here is a whole lot of content, okay? I'm going to take out all the pieces one by one. You can see it and you can get inspired what to put in your own buyer boxes. Again, a lot of things changes. And with that, we need better education, right? So before I dive in, my name is Janine Sassel. I'm the owner and founder of the Hyperlocal Agent. We've made it our mission to really educate more of our buyers, sellers, and for my case, also real estate agents of what they can do to stand out from the market. Now, one of the things I will say is we have 2 different versions of this box. And reason is simple. We do have a buying your first house edition, and we have a buying your next house edition. Now, predominantly, I work with a whole lot more of buying my next house buyer versus buying my first house buyer, okay? So I do have two versions. These books, we do guide agents through step-by-step on how to create them over at the Hyperlocal Agent. They are real books that, let me see if you can kind of see, right? They go over, we have some personal stats in there as well. So this way you can see, they can see, okay, she's an agent that does it. We do have our guides in there as well. So lots of amazing resources that our buyers can take, and they're pretty easy to digest because no buyer wants to be reading endlessly, right? But these two here, amazing value add. So that's one, okay? So depending on which one we're gonna do, that one is gonna go in the box. Next up, we call this our German guarantee right here, okay? The German guarantee is essentially a lemon law for houses, meaning that if they find something that is wrong with the house, we'll buy it back, no questions asked, within 90 days. We have a little sticker we put in here. How do we measure up? We used to put these on tape measures. However, now I'm just adding one of those in here. I didn't have a tape measure on this one. So again, imperfect action, okay? But normally they go on a little tape measure, and then this way they have it handy for room measures and all that good stuff. Next up, we have here a 9 loan programs, just so they have certain little things that they can look at themselves, right? This one here is actually like a bottle opener key thing. I found those on Amazon, super cute. I think they were like wedding, little wedding favor trinkets. So we have that one in there. We've created a house hunting journal that they can fill out, look through, right? Likes, dislikes, all of that good stuff. Kind of fun to keep with during their house hunting journey. I hope we don't have to give out too many to one buyer because we want to ask a lot of questions, right? So we can get the answers. But this one here is also a good one. Or you can just keep it in the bag for yourself and kind of go through it. Next up, we have also a, hey, do you want to go on House Hunters? If you are willing to go on House Hunters, right, you can just simply have a little card in here and we go through, hey, here are the steps you need to take. All of this stuff is here that they can then check out. All right, now we're going to get into some of the last couple things in the box. One of this here is our new construction guide, courtesy of Elevated Agent. Now, this one here is just a card that we tell them, hey, this new construction guide is literally like 40 plus pages. If they want it, right, then they can go ahead and let us know. So this one is just the card version, and we'll educate them on new construction. Next up, those are some of my favorites, our 3 doors, okay? Not every buyer will know what door is right for them. Door 1, door 2, or door 3. Which one is it going to be? Now, essentially, it is talking about, is a house right for you? We have pros and cons listed. Talking about, is a townhome right for you? Again, pros and cons. And last but not least, is a condo right for you? Pros and cons. Now, all of this here, all these resources we've created over the years, again, these are fun to create for sure. And they do have our scheduling link on the back. Next up is a postcard. I had that one printed through Canva, and it leads to our buyer workshop. So this way they can check that one out. But a little bit of a fun Monopoly homeowner version. And that's it. So as you can see, all these items are really there for them to engage, see how we're different, see why they need to hire an agent that is knowledgeable on a lot of different things. And I hope it inspired you to create your own little box, because let's be honest, these boxes, we've used them for listing for a long time. The buyer box, I absolutely love this one, to be honest with you. I think it's the cutest box. Giving people a little gift of education, it just, it just works. So there's this one. Again, if you have other questions, head over to the hyperlocalagent.com. You can find more trainings, more resources, more everything. All right, with that said, we are almost there. So I just want to make sure we wrap it up. Plan to execution, right? Now that you have a pre-listing package assembled, now what? And I do want to leave with that because I still get questions on that a whole lot. It's all about the delivery. And I do have a quick little sneak peek into delivery for you. Find that there, which is the questions, should you email it? Right? I mean, I think we kind of answered what you should do with it in this. That's why I put statistics in there. Should you email it? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully you paid attention. Will you mail it? So the biggest one here is for some of you guys having gated communities, you really have to be smart about the way you do things, because if you can't deliver it in person and you have to mail it, you don't want to go broke on postage, right? What about personal delivery? Okay, maybe we'll do that, right? If you can personally deliver it. I mean, I have most of my runs inside my farm, so it's kind of like super easy. Then the next part, should you ring the bell, right? Or should you just knock and run? Or what about just dropping it on the porch, right? And I already hinted on the gated community. So I do have a quick little snippet from an interview I did, and I'll tell you after the interview what my method is. So many people don't talk about, you can be any personality under the sun and match it to who you are to be happy.
So true. You can make it what you want it to be. And you know, like when I was first doing the boxes, I'm doing like you suggest, you know, do the Amazon delivery, drop, take a picture and go. It's pretty easy. But I'm an extrovert and my personality is like knock, 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 or, you know, say hi on the Ring doorbell.
I love this one. Can we talk about this one real quick?
Yeah.
Package drop off?
Yes.
What do you tell the Ring doorbell?
Say, hi, this is Janice Allen from Jakeway Realtors. I received your request for a home market evaluation. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure you had a hard copy of everything. So I'm taking time to drop it off for you. Please let me know if you have any questions, and give me a call if you have any, you know, if you have anything that you want me to, you know, do.
I love that. I'm like, you know, the Ring doorbells are like the VPs of the future, I think, where you're like, or the answering machines of the future. You're like, hi.
True. Yeah, because you know, people look. It's like, oh, somebody's at my door. What did they drop off? You know, it's like, hey, it's me.
You gotta. Well, we had a whole lot of fun with that one. Hey, it's me. And, you know, reason really being is we all have different personalities, right? So Jenna said, I'm in a mentality of Amazon delivery, meaning stand up. Let me see if I can click it to the next one. I think just, you know, putting it there, everybody checks their front door anyhow, courtesy of Amazon, they'll find it, where her personality is much more extroverted and she's like, hi, I'm Janice. I'm just dropping off this pre-listing package that you asked for. So again, it can fit any sort of personality. You figure out what works for you, and maybe it's something completely in between, right? And then obviously the last part of it is follow-up, right? Nothing is instant in this business. You got to be persistent. You got to think like a consumer. And question I always like put out there for people to think about as agents is, are you a one-night stand or a relationship, right? Be resourceful and provide value in your follow-up. It's just that important. All right, we have made it all the way through, running a little bit over, but if you have not texted, review, or scanned the QR code, now is a great time to get that link so you can let me know how was class. And then remember, what I said afterwards was I want you to make a decision what is on the agenda next, because just showing up for class for an hour and then going back to the same status quo is not going to skyrocket your business, okay? Are you automatically sending the boxes? No, we do not automatically send them. I actually, we deliver them. So we deliver them. Point being is I want to bump into people. So from here on out, if you want to dive deeper, because again, if you don't have any seller leads, that's a problem that needs fixing first, right? I told you what to do when you get a seller lead, But if you don't have any seller leads coming in, we got to fix that first. I know how to fix that in two kind of ways. Luckily, you don't have to choose. It's not a this or that choice, because if you decide that mailers might be on your agenda, every single book that we have, and I think the link is below, for mailermombook.com, comes with a free bootcamp ticket to make sure you are in our next bootcamp. Okay, so that is what we just finished and what we're gonna go do again in, I think, a month or so. And then if you're wondering, okay, what is that bootcamp for? It works for you if you're a real estate agent. Really, if you don't have a farm, if you have a farm, if you are new to the area, if you've lived in the area, if you're brand new, if you're seasoned, doesn't make a difference. Postcards can work to get these seller leads that we can then follow up with in boxes. And if you're the lifetime learner, again, we're working on our 30-day class pass. If it still says coming soon below, we're not quite there yet, but that's where all of our classes will be available on demand. And that's only a 30-day pass, so there's a deadline on it. It's not a, it's not a subscription or anything. It's a, you want the info you need to implement kind of class pass. And that's it. So for today, go ahead and pick your pass. If you have not left a review yet for us, I would love to have a review done. And that was 844-950. That's our business line. And yes, I do read every single text. So feel free, text the word review. Feel free to text that number. And other than that, wrapping up on a Monday. Thanks, Nicole. I hope it was valuable. I hope you really got something out of it. Breaking it down, step by step by step. That's kind of my thing. So, all right. All that said, pick your pass. Buttons below should lead you right to it. So if you are on our replay page, you have buttons right there. They will help with that. And I'll see you in the next Lunch and Learn class next Monday. Bye, everybody.